Gospel equations. Like numbers, biblical equations in text have common denominators, reciprocal associations, and balancing variables. Once this pattern is recognized, one can solve and check scriptures true with other scriptures. Key terms: common interest, irony, and paradox. When associating the balance in scriptural equations, usually contrasting episodes will be accounted that involve a common interest between characters. Common interest would be a frequent or normalized state of curiosity, concern, or attention to something. It would also attribute in regard to one's own benefit or advantage. The character variables are connected to a common interest caught in a paradoxical problem. This paradox is a contradictory situation. In the Bible, Jesus or prophets are known to flip or reverse these problems, while clarification is hinted. When clarification is hinted, in opposite circumstances, irony presents itself. Irony is the strangeness between what might be expected and what actually occurs. Example: two cousins on two paths, life and death. Matthew chapter 11, 2 through 4. Chapter 14, 3 through 13. John versus Herod family. Points that are addressed. John addressed Herod's wife, Matthew 14:4. Head of John received as a gift, condemned, Matthew 14. Jesus doesn't intervene, Matthew 11:2 through 4. John became a civil convict, truth convicted Herod, Herodias abused rights and privileges. John 4, Jesus versus Samaritan woman. Points that are addressed. Jesus addressed woman's husband. John 4, women did not dictate marriage. Gift of living water, Jesus offered grace, salvation. John 4, disciples don't intervene. John 4, Jesus confessed kingdom citizenship. Woman confessed Jesus to be true. Proper response of rights and privileges. John and Jesus, one die, one live, two save. Summaries. John modeled old way of the law. Jesus modeled the new way of grace. John's standard was relevant for Jewish law. Jesus' standard was relevant for all. John mentions Herod's wife. Jesus mentions woman's husbands. John rebuked proud son and king. Jesus' son and king made requests to a lowly woman. Woman requests John's head served on a plate. Jesus requests a woman to serve him. Herodias, head of servants, girl served head to Herod. Woman heads near Jesus. Jesus ahead of disciples. Herod's wife intervenes by plotting, but God doesn't. Disciples didn't intervene with Jesus' affair with the Samaritan woman. Head of John received as a gift. Works of the flesh leads to death. Law condemns. Jesus offers gift of living water. Grace leads to salvation. Herod married brother's wife. Woman married in-laws by arranged marriage. John points out a marriage built on theft. Man fall in the garden. Jesus points out a dependent marriage that was arranged for resources. Covenant tradition. John became civil convict and his truth convicted Herodias. Jesus confessed kingdom citizenship and Samaritan confessed Jesus to be true. Herodias requested blood. Jesus requested water. Gentile family put a Jew to death. A Jew led Gentile families to life. Equation breakdown. Death of John, rise of Jesus. John 4 verses Mark 6, 17 through 30. Common interest between Jesus, John the Baptist, Samaritan woman, and Herodias. Irony exposed similar relational affairs between Herodias and Samaritan woman. John the Baptist and Jesus addressed the women's problems. The paradox between the two circumstances is that John spoke law against Herodias. Her relations were exploited. She didn't want to hear the truth. His words turned her to hate, and he was humbled by their executioner. Jesus spoke grace to a lady privately. She received the spirit of truth. His words turned a woman to confession, and he was praised by her people after she confessed her own relations. John 3, 27 through 36. John 4, irony surrounds water thirst. Paradox involves living water. Women can't satisfy men by giving them head, flesh, and men can't satisfy women by arranging marriage, resources. Jesus satisfies, he is the source. Spirit versus flesh. Arrest of Jesus, John 18. Common interest between Jesus and troops. Irony revealed that troops didn't hear Jesus respond and drew back, so Peter cut Malchus' ear off. Jesus introduced paradox in which a right ear was cut off. Likewise, their authorities needed to listen to Jesus' authority. Rise of Lazarus, John 11. Common interest between Jesus and Lazarus. Irony revealed Lazarus' state of death bound in tomb would mirror and remind Jesus of his fate. And paradox introduced in between the situation is Jesus' ability to resurrect. Disciples and fragments. Mark 8. Common interest between Jesus and disciples on boat. Irony exposed issue on fragments of food. Disciples collect fragments from a miracle, but Jesus reminds them that their memory is fragmented of his miracles. Jesus flips the conflict in paradox of remembrance or recollection. Disciples' memory was not on the supernatural Jesus. 38 years of infirmity, John 5. Common interest between sick man, Jesus, and Jews. Irony exposed issue on sick people. Jesus made the sick man well. Jews were sick because they didn't want to see the man healed on the Sabbath. Jesus flips the conflict in paradox by healing on the Sabbath and restoring people. Jews were spiritually sick and blind. John 18, irony hints not hearing, paradox involves listening. John 11, irony hints death, paradox involves resurrection. Mark 8, irony hints fragments, paradox involves memory recollection. John 5, irony hints sick people, paradox involves healing on the Sabbath.